Hi everyone, it's Hatsy and I'm back with a very interesting story. This is a gripping tale of how my cat got resurrected. I don't know if there's going to be Sims playing in the background. Okay, this story starts with a cat and it's surprise, but it does start when I was pretty young. I'm going to say 13. I was about 13 when this happened. I had a cat called Tobias and he was a great big white fluffy ginger Persian cat. I'll insert a picture of him so you can actually see him. You can be like, oh yeah, Tobias, I know him. But I loved that cat. Like I absolutely adored that flipping cat. You have no idea. He didn't really even know that I existed. It was a very one-way love because I never felt like it was reciprocated. I think that's the word. I think you get that with cats though. It's always one way. But he was very lucky. Like I remember he got trapped inside a garage, some random neighbour's garage when I was younger for like 3 weeks, and he came back like 3 weeks later. And he only lived off like bugs and water because he was trapped, like nobody knew that he was there. He had got knocked over before, he got like knocked over by cars and stuff, and I guess they weren't going very quickly or something, but he was very lucky. After all this stress, because he was an outdoor cat and like we didn't want to lock him in the house because we wanted to, you know, have him outside. It was kind of like a rural area that we lived, and my parents were like very strongly for Tobias going into the garden and like having his freedom because he's a wild animal. Like they didn't want to keep him inside or anything, and they wanted him to live like kind of a normal cat life, I guess, just coming back into from the house. But I remember one morning I got up for school and there was a knock at the door. It was probably about 7:30, I'm gonna say, in the morning, so it was very early, like probably too early for me to process. And there was this old man standing there and he was probably about like 6 years old or something, and he looked devastated. Like he actually looked heartbroken. And my mum answered the door, but I was standing behind her and I saw this man's face, and he just said to my mum, "Do you own a white cat?" And my mum said, yeah, ginger markings. And he said, yeah, that's the one. He said, "I'm really sorry to tell you this, but I've just hit your cat at 50 miles an hour head on." The guy was practically in tears. And I saw my mum step back and she looked absolutely heartbroken. She was just like, this is it. There is no way that he survived, like no way. There'll be like one person in the comments that's like, well actually, according to statistics, that could happen. But no. And I just remember there was a pause and my mum said, "Did you see where he went?" And the guy said, "I saw him get up and stumble off the road, but he looked very hurt." So my mum rang her friend Malcolm after this guy left, like absolutely heartbroken about it. And Malcolm's a vet, like we all know Malcolm. good old Malcolm lived across the road. He was a retired vet, and she rang him just asking for advice, and she was like, "Do you think that if I go looking for him, do you think we're gonna find him?" And Malcolm just said, "Look, the thing is, cats' instinct is to crawl away." But yeah, he basically said that we're not gonna find him because he will have crawled away from the road and he will, like, we're never gonna see him again. And I was incredibly distressed that morning when I went to school. I was heartbroken, like all the way through class. I was so sad about Tobias. Like you have no idea. I felt like I'd lost a family member. Like, you know, if you ever lost an animal, it is the most horrible, like heartbreaking thing. Of course, losing anything, losing anybody is, but he was like a real part of the family. And when I got back home, it's actually the first time that I ever did this by myself, like unpromptedly. I went to a Catholic school, but like I was never religious, like growing up or anything. I mean, you've probably heard my ghost stories, like that's kind of my go-to topic with anybody. I don't know, I've always been skeptical, like I've always been really skeptical of stuff. But I just remember like sitting in my room, just feeling completely empty. Like I'd spent probably an hour or like maybe even more than that looking for Tobias, like trying to at least find him, knowing that there's a very little chance that I would find him. I kid you not, I prayed for probably like the first time in my life. The fact that I asked for something just makes this story like 100 times more weird, because I remember like sitting there and I begged, you know, I begged this like empty space, and I just said like, "Please bring my cat back. You know, I will do absolutely anything at this point. I will try hard in school. I will do anything. I just want my family cat back. Like, I'm gonna miss him so much. It's gonna be so hard for me to be without him." It sounds ridiculous. I'm incredibly dramatic, by the way, if you haven't met me. So it's probably about 6 o'clock at night at this point, and yeah, he disappeared about 7 AM in the morning. Hadn't seen him all day. zero hope, to be honest, of him coming back like after that. And he never disappeared for that long as well, like never. I was sitting there just like looking into space after I prayed, and I swear to you, 20 minutes later, after I prayed, he turned up without a scratch on him. Like, I'm not even joking, okay? This cat, he came out of nowhere. Like, no, what? Like, how did he come back? I have no idea to this day how that happened, but I just think it's absolutely mad. Because, like, people are gonna try and make sense of this, and they're gonna be like, it was a different cat. There's no way it was a different cat, because he was the only big white cat with ginger markings in the area. Because, like, no, there were hardly any houses where I lived. Nobody owned animals, like, everybody knew him. And there's no way that the man lied because of how heartbroken he looked. Like, what the heck? How did this happen? How did my cat get resurrected? But yeah, that's my story. That is how my cat got resurrected. I hope you enjoyed it. And I know that I said at the start of the story, Tobias was a great cat, and I used a lot of like past tenses. He's still alive and well, and he's living in Manchester at the moment. So yeah, if you see him around, be nice to him. It's just crazy. I can't believe it. Like, it's just so weird to me. But yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do enjoy these story times, let me know, because I will tell more in the future. I don't know what to think of this still, but I think it's a really nice story to share. But I appreciate you watching it, and I'll speak to you in the next one.